During my 6 years in Tokyo, I moved and stayed in 6 different places. In Japan, when you move to a different place, besides the rent, you will have to pay some extra fee before moving in and when you move out, and these are very expensive. In this video, I will share with you the monthly rent and the total initial fees that I had to pay for those 6 places. For 2 of them, I spent no extra fee, no initial fee, and I will explain how I did that. Hi, my name is Tan. I lived in Tokyo for 6 years, and these are the 6 apartments in Tokyo that I lived in and the fees I had to pay for them. The first place I stayed in Tokyo was an apartment near to Funaburi Station, which is also where my Japanese school is located at. Because I didn't know anyone in Japan back then and I was only 18, so the study abroad agency suggested me to stay in the school dorm in the first 3 months. The agency showed me a picture of a small apartment saying that the apartment would be for 2 people only, and I had to pay 250,000 yen for the whole 3 months. And when I came to Japan, I found out that they kind of lied to me. It was actually a big apartment with 3 bedrooms. 2 bedrooms have bunk beds for 4 people and another one has a single bed, so 5 people in total live in that apartment. I don't know if the agency lied to me or they just simply didn't know what type of service they were offering, because they were just an agency, you know? Like they collaborate with the third side companies and then they just show us whatever the other company gave them. So it was an apartment inside a huge building, and it was absolutely not the type of dorm that I was expecting. So this is basically a kind of business that those house managers, those people had a connection with the school and they rented an apartment and then rented back to us students to earn and benefit from the rent differences and the extra fees. After those first 3 months, we all moved out because we didn't feel comfortable with the high rent while we had to share the house with so many people like that. The second place I stayed in was a small apartment for 1 person near to a station called Shinozaki. While staying in the first house, the dorm, I searched for a place where I can live alone. Except for the tuition, I had to pay for everything else by myself, so I was always searching for the cheapest rent in Tokyo. In Tokyo, the cheapest studio apartments are around 35,000 yen, and I really wanted to rent them. But unfortunately, all of those cheapest apartments are usually for Japanese people only. At that time, within 30 minutes to my Japanese school, this apartment was the cheapest that I could find. It is 17 square meters. It was located near to Shinozaki Station, which is nearly outside of Tokyo. The initial fee in total was about 130,000 yen, which does not include any rent. This is just for the extra fees like deposits, key money, which is also called graduation fee. It's basically a fee that you pay to thank the house owners for letting you rent their house. I know, right? And then we have the guarantor fee, the insurance fee, the key exchange fee, the brokerage fee, etc. So many things else. Oh, and please note that in this video, whenever I say initial fee, it doesn't include any rent, and usually you will have to pay like 1 or 2 months worth of rent before moving into the apartment. For this second apartment, the monthly rent was 46,000 yen a month. The third apartment I lived in was in Nippuri Station. One day I met this old friend from high school. She was living in this small apartment in Nippuri and the room next door was empty. So at that time I was really lonely and I desperately needed friends. So without any hesitation, I moved into that room immediately. The location was perfect. It was really close to the center of Tokyo. It was located on the most convenient train line in Tokyo, which is JR Yamanote line. And moreover, the apartment was located inside Yanaka, which is a very famous neighborhood and also a famous tourist spot. And with all of those benefits, the rent was only 43,000 yen a month. The reason is very simple. The apartment was really old, the soundproof was worse than terrible, and there is no hot water in the kitchen sink, so washing the dishes in the winter felt like hell to me all the time. The initial fee was also very affordable, 100,000 yen, because my friend was working for the company that was managing this apartment, so I had a little bit of discount. The apartment was really old. It was built in like the 1970s or something. It was 11 square meters. There was no bathroom and toilet inside of my apartment, and whenever I wanted to take a shower or go use the toilet, I always had to go outside and go to another part of the house to use those spaces. The fourth apartment I lived in was near to a station called Myogarani. This Myogarani apartment was the cheapest I could find within a bicycle distance to my university back then. The apartment was built in 1970s, which is quite old, but the owner kind of renovated them so it doesn't look that old, and it was only 14 square meters. Everything was perfect except for the soundproof. Well, if you are on a low budget and you choose an apartment that was made of wood, then please don't expect a good soundproof at all. And because of the bad soundproof problem, I had quite a fight with my neighborhood back then, and maybe I will make a video about that drama later. I don't know. So for this apartment, the total initial rent was about 150,000 yen, and the monthly rent was 53,000 yen. The fifth place I lived in was not really an apartment. It was just a small room in a big house, which is called share house. This share house was located in Heiwajima Station. In my third year of university, I started working part-time for a housing company in Tokyo. This company managed both private apartments and share housing. Share housing is a house with many small rooms, like maybe 7 square meters, and inside those rooms you will have your own bed, desk, chair, fridge, somewhere to hang your clothes, a television maybe, and for the other facilities, maybe like the bathroom, the toilet, the kitchen, you will have to share it with other people in the house, because you have to share so many spaces with many people and your room is very small, so the rent is quite affordable comparing to the other private apartments in that area. And also the rent already includes the utilities, which means the water, the gas, the electricity, and also the Wi-Fi is available for free. As a staff, my privilege was that I didn't have to pay anything except for the rent, and for the regular customer, apart from the rent, the regular customers will have to pay 30,000 yen as the total initial fee. Well, I moved to this new share house mainly because it was really close to my company and it was a service for my company, so I kind of wanted to try living in my company's house. And also, well, I had quite bad memories with the Myogarani apartment, so I kind of want to escape. Well, let's save that for later. So the rent was 55,000 yen a month, and it included all of the utilities as I said before, and it is just because this is a share house, and for private apartments, the one you have everything for yourself, you don't have this privilege. You pay for what you use, like the water, gas, electricity. The last place I lived in was an apartment in Akabane Station. I moved out from the share house in Heiwajima because my parents were coming to attend my graduation ceremony. The rooms in the share house were too small, and share house usually has this no guest policy. So yeah, I just moved out from there, and I wanted an apartment that is big enough for me to let my parents sleep over. At that time, I was still working for that housing company, and not only the share houses, but they also have some private apartments, just the small one. And yes, some furnitures were already in the apartment, so it was really convenient for me to move into one of those apartments that my company managed. And for this time, I didn't have to pay for anything extra either, not because I was a staff. It was because the company had a policy that when customers move to another house in the system, they will not have to pay for anything extra. And as a staff, my privilege was that I could access into the database, and then I found the best one in size, in price, and in well, soundproof, because my parents were coming over. So if they talk loud, I wouldn't want to bother the neighbors, and I wouldn't want to get any complaints because I was a staff at the company. The building was built in the 1980s. My apartment was on the 4th floor, and the size was about 18 square meters. It was made of concrete, so the soundproof was so much better than all of the other places in Japan I lived in. The rent was 68,000 a month, and of course it is a private apartment, so no utility is included this time. So that's all about the rent and the initial fees for all of the 6 apartments I lived in Tokyo. I hope this video gives you an idea of how much it costs for living in different parts of Tokyo. The fees and the rent were quite a long time ago, so it should be a little bit more pricier now. It may be like 5,000 to 10,000 yen more in the rent for the same areas that I mentioned. And as you can see, most of the apartments I lived in were really similar, because that is how apartments for one person looked like in Japan. In Tokyo, the gyms, the parks, the supermarkets, all of those facilities are actually available everywhere, and the neighborhoods, most of the neighborhoods are quite safe too. So as long as you are not too picky, then finding an apartment should not be so difficult. Thank you so much for being one of the few that stay until this last minute of the video. I'm really grateful. Thank you. If you like my videos and want to motivate me to make more contents like this, please give me 5 seconds only to like and subscribe. Thank you so much. Ja, mata ne.